Happy video day, guys. Christina, Brooke here. Today is going to be dedicated to Natasha Denona's Black Friday sale. So we know that Natasha Denona is going to be starting her Black Friday sale, and as of filming this video, it has not launched on the website yet, but she did send out an email saying tomorrow the 24th, which really didn't make sense because the next day was actually the 23rd. So I don't know if it's actually starting the 23rd or starting the 24th. I am assuming that this sale is starting the 24th of November. And in the email, it said up to 60% off certain items, which is so insane. You guys know Natasha has pretty nice price points. Not everything is super expensive, but she does have a nice little price tag. So to get 60% off, I think is amazing. So what I'm going to be doing in today's video is showing you guys my favorite products that if I was able to get a 60% off, I would definitely be picking up. I'm literally going through my entire collection and showing you guys the best, the things that I really, really love. But before I go ahead and show you guys everything that I have sitting here, if you love makeup, I would love it if maybe you would consider hitting subscribe and joining my family. I love to talk about makeup on this channel, and I would love for you to be part of it. Now, let's go ahead and let's get into this. Let me show you guys everything I would recommend from Natasha Denona. Okay, so I pulled out a bunch of things, okay? So this is hard because I like everything from Natasha Denona, so I honestly feel like for the most part, if you go with any of her eyeshadow palettes, depending on what color story you love, you're not gonna go wrong. Like, I don't feel like there's any eyeshadow palette that I would say is like a no-go. Maybe I would say the midi size Zendo is a little difficult to work with, and a lot of like the metallics in there are kind of dyed down for Natasha Denona, so you may be disappointed with that one. But all of the other palettes, really in general, I feel like they're just really, really good. So I'm going to start off with eyeshadow palettes and show you guys my favorite. This is based off of my taste and what colors I prefer to put on my lids, and also how amazing the formulas are. So let's start off with one that I never had in my collection, and now I see why everybody loves it, and I honestly think it's a great starter Natasha palette. It's the Biba. So the Biba is such an awesome palette. So this is a larger palette from Natasha. It has a range of beautiful neutral shadows. Now, what I really like about Biba is it's so easy to use. If you don't have a big Natasha Denona collection and you just want to add an eyeshadow palette, but you want to make sure you get a lot of use per wear off of it, this right here is definitely that palette. You are going to use this a lot. You are going to create beautiful looks. It's not going to be hard for you to wear during the day. It's not going to be hard for you to wear at night. You're going to feel like you got a palette that you can wear a lot. It's a neutral palette, has beautiful colors in it. It's actually not boring though, because she included some really pretty kind of like peachy toned blending shades that kind of add a lot to the looks. So this is like one of those palettes that I think you can create so many different looks with it. You can get drama for the nighttime, including because it has like these deeper, like almost blackish gray colors. And then it also has those traditional browns, beautiful metallics. You can go from gold to more champagne. It's very, very universal, super easy to use. And it's probably one of the easiest palettes from Natasha. You're getting amazing formula. Metallics are beamy and gorgeous and delicious and creamy. I would highly recommend Biba for anybody who does not have a huge collection and wants that everyday palette. So now the next one I would recommend, now I don't know if this is still going to be on Natasha's website. I do know that some places stopped selling this, but if it is available and if it is on the sale, at this moment we don't know what's going to be on sale. I'm assuming that her eyeshadow palettes may not be 60% off, but this is just me thinking it might be less for the eyeshadow palettes because it did say up to 60% off. So I'm assuming the 60% off will be on some other items, but I could be wrong about that. But if you can get your hands on the gold palette, the gold palette was also another palette that I love to use. This one has a little bit warmer brown. It has that leather look to the palette. It was her original design. And inside, as you guys can see, is a very used palette by me. I used this so much, especially before we had to go into hiding for the past few years. I used to use this so much because the browns in here are warmer. They're very easy to use. The golds in here are not as yellowy gold. They're more of like a true gold. They have a really pretty look on the lids. It's kind of like that real gold, not the yellow. And then some of the browns and then also the metallic bronzes in here have a beautiful undertone to them. It also creates very easy eye looks, and I just love the mattes in here. They're just so buttery and beautiful. I've created the most beautiful brown smoky eyes using this palette. When I would go out at night, if I had like an event or a gala or anything like that, I would grab this, and I was always doing my eyeshadow with this because I just felt like it did those beautiful smoky brown eyes with just so much detail. I usually avoided the blues. I typically don't like blue, but if you like blue, this is even better for you. And I just think that the formula in here is just so good, and the color selection of the browns are so flattering. So that's why I would say that one. So when it comes to colorful palettes, now this one is not going to be for everybody. But she released the Circle Loco, which is such a cool palette. But I feel like Circle Loco, when I use it, I create such strong eye looks that for me, it's very easy for me to wear for Instagram looks or for photography. But it's harder for me to wear out. It's more difficult of a palette to use daily. But when it comes to color, she did release the Triochrome. And I actually really like Triochrome because it is a colorful palette, but the looks that you can create with Triochrome are very easy to use and you can wear them easily. So even though there is a lot of color in here, I feel like the colors are more muted. So the looks come out really dramatic and beautiful with this color, but the colors are not as strong. So I feel like it just creates a more classy look of color, and I just really love it. Now the greens in here is what I really am obsessed with. There's actually a green section inside of this Triochrome, and this green right here is a beautiful green, and I've created some beautiful looks with Triochrome. The truth of the matter is these Triochromes, the colors that they have here that are like the flippy shades, they literally are not that amazing with the color shift. But for me, I like that because I don't like color shifting shadows, and these don't shift that much. So it's almost like a metallic with a slight little twist, but sometimes you don't even see the twist. So to me, that's a positive. So somebody who's wanting to buy this for the color shifting, this doesn't really shift. Like it shifts a little bit. You do see a difference, but to me, it's not so much. I like that though. I also love that they have these beautiful peachy section. You can create some very soft, like airy looks with like this section right here, but then you can go drama over here. You can go in a purple direction. To me, it's just a really cool way to play with color that I feel comfortable wearing it out and not having like an issue and just putting on some really cool color. So that's why I would recommend Triochrome when it comes to like colorful looks. And I do really like that palette. Formula is insanely good. It was just an amazing matte formula. So when it comes to her midi palettes, like I have to tell you guys, I don't think that you can go wrong with the midi palettes. The midi palettes have all been so amazing. And of course, it's just color selection, which one you love. But my favorites have to be the Glam palette. I think the Glam palette is an A+ palette. Honestly, when I first saw this Glam palette, I didn't think I was gonna love it as much as I do because it looks very muted, it looks very cool tone, and I thought, well, it's kind of boring. But man, I've created the most beautiful smoky eyes with this palette, and I've also created very neutral eyes with this palette. It is cool tone, which is interesting because a lot of my collection and most of your collection probably is warm tone because warm tone shadows are easier to sell. So I love that this is cool tone. It's just something so different. I love the looks that I create with it. It's beautiful. You can go a little bit warm. She does include a little bit of warmth in here, especially in this little section right here. But for the most part, you get cool tone looks. I also really like combining this palette with the retro palette. So this is something I figured out just recently, and I have been trying it out to see if I like it, and I do. I think it's so beautiful. So the retro palette is another one that I would recommend, but I have to put a big but on this one. You need to really like burgundy-ish eyes. If you do not like burgundy eyes, run for the hills from this one because that's all you create. After using this one for like 5 days straight, I started to get bored with the looks because I felt like I was continuously doing something similar, and I was already like, okay, I think I've done all the looks I can possibly do. But if you like burgundy, you're going to be super happy with the looks you come out with because the formula is beautiful, the quality is really nice. But how I like using them, which maybe there'll be a combination set of these two together, and if there is, I would definitely recommend picking up a set that has both of these, if there is one. And if not, both of these palettes, if you pick up each one, they create a really cool large size palette. I feel like some of the mattes that you need to kind of change up these looks, you can find them in Glam. They work really well together, and I do like them as a combo palette. Like this one I like standing alone. I love it as a combo. This one I like it more in a combo. I do like the looks I create with it, but when I combine it with the Glam, it just changes everything. It just steps it up a notch. So if there is, which there might be, maybe there won't be, but if there is some type of set that includes both of those, I think that would be an awesome set. And if there's not, if you wanted to pick up two midis, if you combine those two together, they're so cool together and I really like them. The other midis that I really enjoy, and these two are kind of similar, but they're not. The original one, this is one of the first midis that she came out with, right? I think it was. So this is the Sunrise. I don't know if she still has this one on the website, but if she does, Sunrise was such a good buy because I feel like all the looks that I created with this palette were just so beautiful. Very warm tone. You've created very sunrisey looking eyes, but I'm so used to seeing more of the reds inside of these type of palettes that I was so happy to see something that went more sunrise. I don't usually use like the yellows in here, but I do really like the rest of the colors. And another thing that was interesting is I felt like this palette, I was able to create a bunch of different kinds of looks, day looks, night looks. So if you wanted to add something very warm to your collection, that you can do variety. You don't have to stick to that sunrise look. And the formula is actually really pretty. You are going to be able to create more burgundy leaning eyes, but you can include some purple in here. This was a really nice color combination palette, and I feel like it had a lot of variety to it. But another one that I really like, so let's say you don't want to go for the bigger size Natasha Denona palette, so Biba and Gold are off the table for you. I really like this one. So this one here is called the Bronze. So this is another one that I actually had never added to my collection. I added it recently and I really like it. So this is a midi bronze palette from Natasha. I really like this one too. What I like about this one, guys, is you can go in almost the same directions as Biba and Gold. This is a little bit more warm tone than Biba. It's kind of closer to the Gold palette, but if you put them side by side, they're really not the same. But if you want like a similar effect, this is probably the route that you would take. You can create some beautiful looks with this. I really love the bronzy looks I've been able to create with this, the smoky looks. I feel like the formula in here is the same amazing Natasha formula. If you can get this one at a great price, this is also a palette that I would highly recommend. All right, so then when it comes to the mini palettes, so these are the teeny tiny palettes. Sometimes she puts these in sets. So I just want to show you guys the ones that I love from her, and they're all kind of like, I could see them in a set together. They might not be, but these are my favorites. So first we have the Mini Glam. So I really like the Mini Glam. The Mini Glam is kind of close to the Mini Nude, if you guys remember that palette, but this one has a little bit more coolness to it. I love the brown in here. It's cool, but it's not that cool. I love the combination with these other colors. Beautiful looks I've been able to create with this. This is a very nice palette. I really love it. It's like really good, and I would highly recommend that one. The other two are actually really cool, and both of them came out with midis this year. Was it this year? I think it was this year. So the first one was Natasha Denona's Zendo. So this is the Mini Zendo. I love the Mini Zendo 100 times more than I like the Midi Zendo. I feel like the Midi Zendo did not live up to Mini Zendo. If you want these colors, I would go for this one. You create a really unique eye look with this palette, and I definitely would highly recommend that one. So then one of my favorite minis has been the mini retro. So this one creates those beautiful, almost greenish with a little bit of like that pale look to it eyes. The colors in here, there is one that looks like a mossier green, but it's actually a gray green. And then this right here is the color Industrial, which is actually in one of her larger palettes, but it's the most beautiful color in the entire world. This is such a pretty palette. On my skin tone, it looks amazing. So if you like these colors, and if you've heard of mini retro, which basically started the I want midi retro movement, that is the palette. It is so beautiful, and apparently she's coming out with one that's going to look more similar to this one next year. Okay, so then the final mini that I would recommend, and this one is actually new this year, and I like this, and I don't know if she sells it in the set that Sephora had, but if the set that Sephora had is available, I would recommend the set because the brush in here is actually really good. I like the brush, but this is the mini Metropolis. So I like the mini Metropolis because I feel like the big Metropolis is nice, but I feel like they picked the all-stars from that palette and put it in a mini. And the rest of the colors in Metropolis are very yellowy. There's some blues in there that I don't love. And I feel like this kind of just got like the best of all the worlds and put it in a mini. And I can combine it with another palette like the bronze or anything like that and create looks that are so similar to the big Metropolis. Kind of the way to go. I really like this one. I feel like the looks that I can create are really pretty and colorful. And yeah, it's one of those really cool palettes. So if you are looking for a little bit of color, maybe you have some more neutral palettes, you want to add something with a little bit more fun to it, I really like this one. I think it's really cool. So that's all the eyeshadow palettes that I would say I would definitely look for. But like I said, I really love all of Natasha's palettes. I think if you pick any of them, you really will be happy. Now, something that I think is a huge, like, add to your list if you are looking and if it is on sale, which I'm assuming the whole website might be somewhat on sale, the Macroblade from Natasha. This is the best liquid liner. It has replaced every single one of my liquid liners. I literally am obsessed with this stuff. I think it's probably been one of her best releases she has done in 2021. So if you have been eyeing this and you're wondering if it's any good, I would 100% recommend it for sure. And if it's in a kit that includes any of these liners, so the eyeliners, the Macro Tech liners from Natasha are insane. I have all three of them and I love them. I love the purple, I love the brown, I love the black. I think they're so beautiful, so pigmented, they blend well. It's actually what I put on the top line today. I kind of just like blended it a little bit, and I'm actually wearing Biba on my eyes today. So I would definitely highly recommend the eyeliners. They're my favorite eyeliners. They work on the waterline, they work on the top lash line. Love them. I love them, like obsessed in love with them. So when it comes to lip liners, I love her lip liners too. So today I'm actually wearing NAYA, which is this darker brown, with the Bite Beauty lipstick in Harissa. If you want to know what I'm wearing on my face, everything will be linked down below and you guys can follow the links to the websites. But NAYA is the color that I have on my lips today and I really love it. I use NAYA a lot. I mix it with browns, I mix it with oranges, just to give it a little bit of a darker look. It's such an easy to use lip liner. The other one that I really love is Julia. So Julia is a little bit more pinky. It's like your typical pinky lip liner. I love this color. I mix it with a lot of my more nude lips when I want to add a little bit of like a rose hint to it. Like I don't want it to look so taupe. That's the color I use. And then the one that I use for like nude lipsticks, and this is one that I use a lot. This is literally like almost the same color as my lips, just a tad hair darker, is the color Natasha. So this is probably her best selling lip liner. I think Natasha is very known, but I love her lip liners. I don't think you need every color because I personally own I think every lip liner from her. I have swatched them all. The color difference is like not that much. I feel like if you buy 3 within each color range, you're good enough and you don't really need every single one. So let's move on to lipsticks since we're talking about lips. Now the lipsticks, I only own 3 from her, but I love all 3 of these. So these are the ones I would recommend. All of her I Need a Nude lipsticks, they're just really creamy and beautiful. If you do not like drying lipsticks, these are the way to go. I love the color Amarosa. So this came out during her Valentine's release, and this is such a beautiful nude with a hint of purple in it. So it's definitely a nude with a little bit of brown, a little bit of purple in it. Like, you guys can see that it has a really interesting color to it. It is beautiful with any purple eyes that you do, or burgundy. I feel like this works so well with them. It works really good with cool tone looks. So definitely if you're doing a cool tone look, it's so beautiful. So the other two lipsticks that I really like, and this is one that you will see I've literally used. I have literally almost finished this. This is almost gone. This is SAMI. SAMI is beautiful. It's that really pretty brown that's like really in right now, and it's not super dark, but it reminds me of like that 90s look. Super popular style that's in right now, and I really like that one. And the other one is my more neutral lip, and if you guys can see, I also use this one quite a lot, and this is Allison. I think Allison is also a beautiful lip color. It's one of my favorite nudes that I've been using lately, and I really love that color. So these are actually the 3 colors I own from Natasha, and the 3 colors I would recommend because I love all 3 of them. They're all 3 beautiful. And actually I've wanted to pick up more colors, so I might actually be picking up some more lipsticks from the Natasha Denona sale. So let's move on to some blushes. So Natasha has a few different blushes. I personally do not like the Cream Bloom palette. I feel like it's too rich for my skin tone. Maybe if you have a deeper skin tone, you would love that one. But for me, it's too bright. This released for Valentine's, so I'm not sure if it's still going to be available or not. But if it is, this duo that released for her from her Valentine's, the Love Cheek duo, was so pretty. This is more of like a pinky blush that I can wear. It looks so pretty on. It's not super bright, but it does show pigment, and this highlight is insanely beautiful. So you get 2 really good products in one, and I really like this palette. So if this one is available and you're looking at it, who knows, maybe this one will be at the 60% off because it was like a Valentine's release. That would be really interesting. Then the other one that I would recommend is the Bloom Mini, if she still has this available, which I think she does. The Bloom Mini is so beautiful. So you would think that this would mimic the Bloom Cream, but it's completely different. Like, this color does not look like the Bloom Cream at all. This looks so much better on my skin tone. It is a little bit more bright, but it has like this beautiful pinky undertone to it, and it has a little bit of sheen in it. But for some reason, the sheen does not emphasize texture. It just looks beautiful. This is a new release that just came out, and I would only recommend this to some people. So if you're somebody who likes to travel a lot and you want to take something with you that's very handy and very pretty, I like her face palette that she released this year. So this was her Glam face palette. Now there is some complaints with this. Like, I think that these 2 glittery shadows are almost identical on the lids. So I do think that we kind of missed out on getting maybe an extra shade in there. They don't pop out, which I don't like either, but I love this cream blush. I think it's the perfect color, especially for wearing with a bunch of different looks. Like, if you just don't know what you're gonna have on, if it's gonna be a deep look or a light look, this is the type of blush you want to use. This highlight is absolutely stunning. It does like that glass effect. But I do think, like, overall as a palette, it's a really nice travel companion because these shades are absolutely stunning. They blend so nicely on the lids, and I can create some really beautiful day looks, and I can amp it up for nighttime. So I do really like this palette, especially for the type of person who does not want a huge eyeshadow palette. Maybe they want a bunch of products in one to take with them on trips and stuff. I think that this is the perfect way to go. In my case, since I'm a light medium skin tone, I got the light one, but I think in my case, you can go either way. You can go the darker one. You'll probably have a little bit more depth, a little bit more variety, or you can go the lighter one, which will give you a little bit more dayish looks that you can amp up for nighttime, but just probably not as deep and rich as you could if you got the darker one. So if this is on sale, but this is a new release, so I don't know if it will be. I do think it's a really nice palette, but like I said, a certain type of person would probably enjoy it more. Natasha Denona has these sharpeners on her website, and I really like them because they pop open. So they hold all of like the excess that you just sharpened inside of the casing so that you don't have it like falling everywhere, and then you just kind of like dump it. And it's very easy to use. It's very easy to open. Like, you don't have to sit there trying to open it. Actually, sometimes it opens on me. So when I'm sharpening after I'm ready to throw it out, it's just like it pops open and I can throw it out. But it's funny because I have found myself continuously using that sharpener over all my other sharpeners. So I guess it's a pretty damn good sharpener. But anyways, that is everything that I would recommend to you guys from Natasha Denona's website. These are products that I truly, truly love and I've really, really enjoyed. I feel like Natasha has a bunch of really awesome products. I don't think that you'll be disappointed with most of the stuff you pick up. I was not a huge fan of her puff paints, which are her liquid blushes. They were a little bit too pale for my skin tone. It wasn't like something that I really, really loved. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was somewhat helpful. Don't forget to leave me your comments down below. Tell me what your favorite product from Natasha Denona is. Maybe tell some of your friends so that everybody can have an easier time shopping the sale. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.